You can't just leave everything. Afam, what of your mother, your home? He grasped her hands now, holding them firmly. The guards shuffled at a respectful distance, not catching the low conversation clearly over the bubble of the running water. My mother will understand. Oma, I have thought about it all day. We will go far from here, maybe to the big towns or across the 7 rivers if we must. I'll take care of you. No one will call you cursed ever again. And eventually, you will love me as I love you. I'll wait as long as it takes. Once upon a time, in the ancient village kingdom of Umozala, there lived a young woman named Oma. Umozala was a land blessed with rolling green hills and a sparkling river that wound its way around the clay walled compounds. Every morning, golden sunlight would spill over the hilltops, waking the roasters and urging the villagers to another day of life and laughter. Children with ebullient energy chased each other between mud huts, and women trekked to the river, balancing clay pots on their heads, their laughter echoing across the valley. Men took up hoes and cutlasses, disappearing into the misty dawn towards their yam fields and palm tree groves. The heart of the village was the market square, where an ancient odala tree stood guard over the red earth clearing. On lively market days, the square bursted with bright headscarves and the aroma of roasting maize, while elders sat under the tree, sharing kola nuts and proverbs as the ekwe gong sounded to announce the opening of trading. Umozala was as beautiful and vibrant as any kingdom in Igbo land, but beneath its pleasant reading lay a dark cloud of mystery that clung to one family's compound. Morning breaks over the lush fields and forests surrounding the village of Umozala, with blue skies and gentle sunlight greeting the land. Oma was 27 years old, with skin the color of roasted cashew and eyes bright like the morning star. She was known in Umozala not only for her beauty, Omalicha, the villagers nicknamed her, meaning beautiful, but also for her good heart. She helped her mother Nkem cook the family's meals on the clay hut and joined her father Obina and younger brother Ikena in the fields during planting season. She would sing softly as she weeded between the yam mounds, her voice as soothing as the breeze that rustled the ugu leaves. In the evenings, Oma sat with other girls under the moonlight to listen to the folk tales told by the elders, and her laughter rang out like bells when the trickster tortoise in the tale got his foolish punishment. By all accounts, Oma was a blessing to her family, the kind of daughter any parent would be proud to have, well brought up to respect her elders and the gods of the land. Her father, Obina, was a humble farmer who often said that agwa bu mma nwaanyi, good character is a woman's beauty, and by that standard, his daughter was the most beautiful in the land. Yet, in spite of all her virtues, Oma's life was shadowed by strange misfortune. In a village where most girls married in their late teens or early 20s, 27-year-old Oma remained unmarried, not for lack of suitors, but because a terrifying pattern had emerged. All the men who came to marry her had died mysteriously after visiting her father's compound. What began as whispered gossip in the market square soon grew into open fear. Mothers would warn their sons half-jokingly, "Nwokoma, if you value your life, stay away from that cursed girl." Fathers shook their heads sadly at Obina's plight, and the village Dibia, native priest, himself had been consulted more than once about the dark omen hanging over Oma's home. It started some years back when the first suitor, Ogbuefi Eze, arrived from a neighboring village. Ogbuefi Eze was a renowned hunter, proud and tall, wearing a leopard skin belt and carrying a hunting gun over his shoulder. He had seen Oma at the New Yam Festival dance and was immediately smitten by her grace. One fine Nkwo market day, he came with his kinsmen to Obinna's compound, bringing palm wine and a fat goat to declare his intentions. Oma greeted him respectfully with a shy smile, and her family welcomed the visitors, breaking kola nuts in the customary way to bless the occasion. All seemed well. The Igwe, king of Umozala, even sent his goodwill, pleased that such a capable man sought a daughter of the land. However, fate had other plans. The night after Ogbuefi Eze's visit, the village was shaken by agonized shouts from the outskirts. The mighty hunter was found dead by the forest path, his body cold and eyes bulging. The whisper on everyone's lips was that perhaps a vengeful spirit had struck him down, for there was no wound on his body. Some recalled that he boasted about killing a mysterious large snake that day. Perhaps the forest spirit took offense. Regardless, Ogbuefi Eze never lived to marry Oma. Not long after, a second suitor courted her, Ekene, the greatest wrestler in all 9 villages of Umozala's clan. Ekene was a man whose strength was the pride of his people. He had beaten every challenger in the annual wrestling matches, throwing men like one throws kernels to fowls. He too had fallen for Oma's charm after a chance meeting by the river where she was washing clothes. He said her smile was as refreshing as the stream on a hot day. Gathering the approval of both families, Ekene visited Oma's home to formalize their engagement, bringing jars of foaming palm wine and baskets of yams. That evening, villagers murmured hopeful prayers that Oma's curse, if that's what it is, had passed. But misfortune struck again. The very next afternoon, the mighty Ekene developed a sudden violent fever. He collapsed in the center of the market while boasting to his friends about his lovely bride-to-be. By nightfall, Ekene was gone, his strong body unable to fight an illness that came without warning. The people of Umozala were stunned. 2 healthy young men dead, both having paid visit to Oma. As months passed, more men tried to win Oma's hand, for her beauty and character were renowned far and wide. But each time tragedy struck, a cheerful palm wine tapper named Udoka came singing to her compound one evening, promising to provide sweet wine for her forever. Mysteriously, he fell from a palm tree the morning after meeting Oma, and his neck snapped like a twig. A wealthy yam farmer from a distant town brought rich fabrics and coral beads, determined to have Oma as wife. He was later trampled by a stray bull that escaped its pen on the journey home. Even a gentle young teacher who had returned to the village from the colonial city sought her out. Everyone thought perhaps a man of books would break the jinx. But a week after he exchanged love letters with Oma, a malaria with no cure took him. One by one, like a cruel joke, death plucked each suitor away. None of these men made it to the traditional wedding rites. Each died shortly after visiting or declaring love for Oma. By now, the whispering about Oma had grown into fearful talk. In the evenings, when fires burned low and moonlight silvered the village path, people spoke in hushed tones about the beautiful young woman with death in her shadow. Some villagers argued it was not her fault. Perhaps her personal god, is protecting her from an ill-fated marriage. A sympathetic old woman suggested, remembering tales of spirit spouses who jealously guard their human wives or husbands. Others were less kind, muttering that Oma must be an Ogbanje, the kind of evil spirit child that brings grief to its family repeatedly. Tofiakwa, spat one man at the mere sight of her once, invoking God's name to ward off evil. Children, not understanding the depth of the situation, sometimes Cicely sang after her, "Oma nwaanyị ọjọọ, all your husbands die o," until their parents yanked them away and scolded them to silence. Each insult was like a thorn in Oma's heart. She would hurry home from the stream or market with her water pot or basket, eyes downcast, fighting back tears of shame and anger at how fate had painted her as a living corpse. Throughout all this, Oma's family stood by her. Obinna, her father, was heartbroken to see suitor after suitor perish, but he never blamed his daughter. He was a deeply traditional man who sought answers the Igbo way. After the second death, he took offerings of kola nut and a white cockerel to consult Allah, the earth goddess and keeper of morality. At her shrine in the sacred forest, the Dibia, who went into trance at the shrine, proclaimed that there was a dark cloud and the anger of ancestors surrounding the family. But the messages were cryptic. Obinna performed every cleansing ritual recommended. He slaughtered a goat at the Afo-market shrine to appease any offended spirit, and Nkem, Oma's mother, brewed herbs for spiritual baths to wash bad luck away from their daughter. They even traveled to a faraway seer who claimed that perhaps Oma had a spiritual husband under the river who was eliminating any earthly man that came near her, a claim that sent chills through Nkem's bones. This seer prescribed that Oma carry out a midnight offering at the river. She was to throw into the river a calabash containing a pig's feather, chalk and a small doll, symbolically divorcing any spirit spouse. Desperate for a solution, Oma did everything she was told, trembling alone by the river under a full moon, casting the calabash into the swift current with a whispered prayer, but nothing changed. The next man who approached her still met a sudden end. It was as if fate itself had sealed off the path of marriage to her. In those dark days, Oma's one constant source of comfort was Afam, her childhood friend. Afam was a familiar face at their compound. He had grown up just a few compounds away. They used to chase grasshoppers together in the fields as children and sit by the fireside while Oma's grandmother told moonlight stories. Now, as adults, Afam remained a loyal friend through all her trials. He was a slender, soft-spoken man with thoughtful eyes and a smile that was both kind and sad. He hated the way the villagers treated Oma and often stood up for her in public. On an occasion, when a group of youths snickered and refused to sit near Oma during a community meeting, Afam had marched over and deliberately sat by her side, glaring at anyone who dared speak. "Are you people blind with ignorance?" He has scolded them. "This is Oma, the same girl who grew up among us, not some witch from a folktale. Any of you that calls her again will answer to me." His fierce defense shamed many into silence that day. Oma had been grateful. She squeezed his hand afterward and said, "Afam, thank you. You have always been a true friend." He merely smiled and replied, "What are friends for, if not to stand by each other?" Jido Bigaka, take heart, Oma. Your good story never finished yet. In simple Nigerian English, he comforted her that her story was not over, encouraging her to hold on to hope. It was true. Afam was always there to wipe her tears on the worst days. When news of yet another suitor's death reached Oma, and she broke down sobbing in her mother's arms, it was Afam who arrived with fresh palm wine to calm Obinna's nerves and sweet okazi soup from his own mother for the family to eat. For who had appetite to cook then? He would help Oma's brother Ikenna with chores unasked, splitting firewood with a determined fury as if to vent his frustration at the world on the logs. Often, he reassured Omar, someday, someone good will come, and even the gods will allow it. Don't lose hope, Nne. Afam's voice was gentle as a dove when he spoke to her, using Nne, mother, as an affectionate term common among the Igbo for a dear woman. Omar would manage a small smile and reply, I don't know, Afam. I am tired of seeing death. I fear any man who comes close. Afam would shake his head and respond with a proverb or encouragement. No condition is permanent. The rain that beats you will stop one day. His presence was like a shelter in the storm of gossip and fear that swirled around her life. To the villagers, Afam's unwavering closeness to Omar was a puzzle. Some joked quietly that maybe Afam had immunity to her curse because he grew up with her. Others suspected that he harbored deeper feelings for her, though if he did, he hid it well behind the guise of friendship. When Afam reached a marriageable age, his mother often pressed him, Afam, you are my only son. When will you bring a wife so I can carry my grandchildren? He would simply sigh or deflect the question. Truth be told, Afam had loved Omar for years, quietly, hopefully, and with a pain in his heart each time another man courted her. He had never spoken of it because he saw how much sorrow the talk of marriage brought her. Instead, he stayed by her side patiently, waiting for fate to show him a sign. One orange sky evening in the dry season, under the shade of the Odala tree by Omar's compound, fate seemed to stir. The Harmattan breeze had started to blow, and a few villagers were walking back from their farms early. Omar sat on a small wooden stool, absent-mindedly, weaving a palm frond basket. The compound was quiet. Her father and brother were still on the farm, and her mother had gone to visit an aunt in the next hamlet. Afam arrived and found Omar alone. Her face calm but her eyes distant, lost in thought. He greeted her, Nne, welcome, and she gestured her to sit on a woven mat beside her. For a while, they chatted lightly about the day. Afam described a funny scene he had witnessed at the market, making Omar chuckle for the first time in days. Her laugh was like the tinkling of a small bell, and Afam's heart swelled to see her smile. A silence fell between them as the sun dipped lower, painting the clouds in red and gold. Afam cleared his throat, nervous all of a sudden. He had rehearsed this in his mind many times, but now his tongue felt heavy. Omar, he began softly, picking up a dry twig and tracing lines in the sand to avoid her gaze. There is something I have been meaning to tell you. Omar noticed the unusual tremor in his voice. She sat down, her half-woven basket, giving him her full attention. What is it, Afam? You know you can tell me anything, she said, concern creasing her brow. He took a deep breath and met her eyes with determination, fueled by a mix of hope and fear. Omar, we have been friends since we were small. I know your heart more than anyone. I see your pain and I feel it too. You deserve happiness. And I want to be the one to give you that happiness. He paused as Omar's eyes widened slightly. Afam continued in a rush. I love you, Omar. Not as a sister or friend, but as a man loves a woman he wants to marry. I have loved you quietly for so long. I cannot hide it anymore. The air around them seemed to still. Omar's lips parted in surprise. Of all things she thought, Afam might say, perhaps that he was traveling or he had problems at home. A confession of love was the last she expected. Her heart pounded. She cared for Afam deeply, but as a brother, as her closest friend, she had never allowed herself to think of him in a romantic way. Perhaps she had built a wall in her mind because he was the only man near her that fate hadn't taken. and she dared not risk him. And now, here he was, looking at her with hopeful, pleading eyes that glistened in the evening light. Afam, Oma began, her voice quavering. She stood up, unable to sit still, and Afam rose too, anxiety written on his face. She paced a few steps, wrapping her arms around herself as if a cold wind blew, though the air was warm. Afam, you are like a brother to me, she finally said, turning to face him. Her words were gentle, but they struck Afam's heart like a dagger. He flinched, as though slapped. The phrase, like a brother, confirming his worst fear. No, please, just listen. Oma continued quickly, seeing his pained expression. You have been my rock through all this. I do love you, but not in the way you want. And even if I did, how could I dare? You have seen what happens to any man who tries to come close to me as a husband. I cannot bear the thought of losing you too. Biko, Afam, try to understand. I don't want you to die. Her voice cracked on the last word, and tears pooled in her eyes. Just imagining harm coming to Afam because of her made her chest tighten. Afam's hands balled into fists at his side. He stepped closer, emotion spilling over in his voice. So I should remain silent forever, eh? Watching you live alone and miserable like this because of some stupid cause that I don't even believe in, he cried out. The frustration of years seeped into his tone. Oma, I'm not afraid. Why do you think I'm still here? Any other man would have run, but me, I will stay by you, cause or no cause. I can't watch you suffer and do nothing. Let me love you. Love is not by force. Yes, I know. I can't force your heart, he added bitterly, invoking a common saying that love cannot be forced. But I swear to you, whatever is killing those men, I will face it. I'll protect you. They say if a woman doesn't love you, she calls you brother. You just called me brother. Does it mean you don't love me at all? Afam's eyes were wet now, pleading. Shocked by the intensity of his words, Oma reached out to touch his arm. Afam, you don't understand. It's not about whether I love you that way or not. I'm afraid. I truly see you as family. My heart has been through too much fear and grief to think of romance with anyone, especially you, who is so dear to me. How could I ever forgive myself if something happened to you? Please, I beg you, let us remain as we are. I cherish you too much to risk your life. A tear rolled down her cheek. But Afam, fueled by long suppressed passion and perhaps a sense of injustice, could not let it go. He had imagined many responses from her, confusion, maybe a gentle letdown. But her reasoning both pained and infuriated him. In his mind flashed the faces of those suitors, and a dark thought flickered. None of them loved her as I do. He wiped his face and spoke more sternly. Oma, you are not cursed, don't you see? It has all been a terrible coincidence or something else, but not you. I won't die for simply loving you. I refuse. His voice rang against the clay compound walls. Oma took a step back, alarmed by the sudden hardness in his tone. How can you be sure, Afam? Are you a god? She asked, her temper rising in response. We have buried how many now? 5, 6? Each one gone after wanting to marry me. If I agree to be with you and you die, what will I do? I will never forgive myself. I would rather never marry in my life than cause your death. Afam's face contorted, frustration boiling over. He had hoped for a chance, a glimmer that she might reciprocate. But her fear for his life was like a wall he could not climb. And beneath that wall, he sensed that perhaps she truly did not see him as a husband. He was like a brother. That phrase thudded in his chest again. So that is it then, he muttered, stepping back. You will treat me like a brother and push me away while living alone in sorrow. Do you know how it kills me to see you like this? Do you even want to be happy? The words were harsh. Oma stiffened, hot flashing in her eyes now. Afam, that's unfair. Of course I want to be happy. Do you think I choose this life? She gestured around helplessly. You think I don't dream of having a normal life, a husband, children, peace? But those dreams have turned to ashes every time. It's like the God said no. And now I don't even dream again. I've accepted my fate. If I am to be alone to keep those I love safe, so be it. She sobbed softly at that, covering her face. Afam reached out, as if to console her, but then pulled back, conflict raging in him. His voice dropped to almost a whisper, trembling with intensity. Oma, I love you more than my own life. Don't you know that? I would rather die than see you suffer. I don't want you to die at all, Oma cried, looking up at him, cheeks wet. Don't talk about dying, Afam, please. He fell silent, chest heaving. The crickets in the nearby grass had begun their evening symphony, oblivious to the emotional battle between the two friends. Finally, Afam spoke quietly and strangely. All right, I've heard you. There was a hollowness in his tone that made Oma uneasy. If being like a brother is what you want from me, then so be it. He managed a weak smile that didn't reach his eyes. It's late. Let me go. Your family will be back soon. Oma's heart twisted. She wanted to reach out and hug him, to reassure him their friendship would endure, but something in his distant expression kept her back. Afam, she whispered, I'm sorry. He merely nodded, then turned on his heel and left the compound without another word. Oma watched him leave. She felt an ache inside. She hadn't meant to hurt him so deeply. Perhaps with time, he will understand I did it out of love, she thought. But as she prepared the evening meal alone that night, Oma could not shake a heavy feeling of dread that she could not name. That night, the harmattan winds blew stronger, and a full moon rose, round and pale as a deadly coin. Oma's father, mother, and brother returned, and the family ate dinner quietly, pounded yam with bitterleaf soup. Each lost in their own thoughts. Oma did not mention Afam's visit or confession. She was too emotionally exhausted and confused. She retired early to her small hut, a round mud dwelling within the family compound walls, laying on her woven mat. She could hear her mother's and father's low voices from the adjacent hut, likely discussing the farm work and perhaps their worries about her. Sleep came fitfully to Oma. At times she drifted off, only to start awake from nightmares where she had Afam calling to her from across a great river, or saw faceless suitors lying dead on the ground. In one dream, she saw a dark figure creeping around the compound with a knife. She woke up with a gasp, heart pounding, telling herself it was just the fruit of her troubled mind. Little did she know that on this very night, her greatest living nightmare was about to unfold. It must have been past midnight when a blood-curdling scream tore through the stillness of the compound. Oma jolted awake to the sound of her mother's voice screaming her name. Oma! Oma! The cry was cut short. For a second, Oma wondered if she was still dreaming, but then she had a thought and the clatter of something metallic, perhaps a lantern falling, coming from her parents' hut. Panic seized her. She scrambled up, her wrapper loosely tied around her nightdress, and pushed aside the raffia door flap of her hut. The compound yard was lit by moonlight and the faint glow of a falling oil lamp by the doorway of her parents' hut. Oma's bare feet slapped the cool ground as she ran. Mama, Papa, she called frantically. An unnatural silence answered. At the entrance, she nearly tripped over the clay lamp. She could see inside. Her father's form lay sprawled on the ground mat, unmoving, and beyond him, her mother's figure slumped against the wall. A pool of something dark, blood, was visible by the moonlight on the earthen floor. Terror, like none she had ever known, gripped Oma's throat. Her hands trembled violently as she stepped inside. The culprit smell of blood hit her. No, no, no! She wailed, rushing to her mother's side. Kem's eyes were half open, but glassy and unseeing. Her throat had a deep gash. Oma recoiled, clamping her hands over her mouth to hold back a scream. She spun to her father. Obinna had been stabbed in the chest, a fatal wound gleaming wetly. His face was frozen in shock, as if he couldn't believe what had happened. Oma's vision swam. This could not be real. Just hours ago, they were all laughing at Ikena's joke over dinner. Ikenna, the thought, galvanized her, and she stumbled out of her parents' hut towards the smaller hut her brother slept in. Ikenna, she cried, voice strangled with fear. Where are you? She flung open the door of the hut and nearly collapsed at the sight that greeted her. Ikenna lay on his sleeping mat, limp and lifeless, a dark stain on his nightshirt where a blade had pierced his heart. The 19-year-old boy, who was her only sibling, her mischievous, lively brother, now looked as small and helpless as a child, his life snuffed out in silence. A keening sound rose from Oma's throat, an animalistic wail of grief and horror. She ran back to the yard, spinning in confusion under the cold moon. There was no sign of the attacker. Whoever had done this dreadful deed had melted away into the night, alone in the compound with slaughter of her family before her eyes. Oma felt her sanity slipping. She fell to her knees in the center of the yard and screamed, a long, agonized scream that seemed to stir even the distant hills. Neighbors heard the commotion, and soon beams of lantern light and confused voices filled Obinna's compound. Gasps and cries rang out as villagers discovered the gruesome scene. Women began to wail, high-pitched, mournful sounds of a death announcement, and men shouted for orders to come quickly. Some villagers restrained Oma gently, who by now was crawling into her mother's body in a state of shock, sobbing, "Mama, wake up, please wake up." Even as her shaking hands came away covered in blood. One of the elders, Ichie Okeke, carefully led her out of the blood-stained hut. Oma was trembling from head to toe, incoherent with shock. They wrapped a cloth around her and sat her on a bench outside as the tragedy was assessed. The Igwe's guards arrived not long after, alerted by runners. They moved through the compound with grim efficiency, confirming that Obinna, Nkema and Ikenna were beyond any help. An emergency meeting of the Igwe's council was summoned before daybreak, as this was not just a family matter but a terrible omen upon the whole village. 3 deaths in one night, all in the same family already under the shadow of unusual happenings. Fear wrapped its icy fingers around the hearts of everyone in Umozala that night. Oma sat on the ground of the compound, wailing and muttering prayers to God and the ancestors. Some of the village women, though they feared her supposed cause, could not help but feel pity at the sight of her, a young woman who in one night lost mother, father, and brother. They tried to console her carefully, but Oma was beyond reach, her eyes wide with trauma. She clung to Ichie Okeke's arm at one point and demanded, "Who did this? Why? Why? Ichie, why?" The old man could only shake his head sorrowfully. "Nne, be calm, we don't know yet. It is too dark to see any tracks. The gods will reveal." "Oh Diego, this is terrible. Take heart, my child." But even he, respected elder that he was, looked uneasily at her, as though he too wondered in his heart if perhaps Oma herself was an agent of darkness. As the sky lightened into grey at dawn, the Igwe and his council gathered at the market square. The entire village was awake and alight with rumor. Superstition and fear hung thick in the air. At the gathering, people spoke out of turn, distraught and angry. "This is unheard of. Father, mother, son, all dead in one night," one man exclaimed. "It's that curse, I'm telling you," a woman's voice piped up. "Death follows that family everywhere now. We should have done something sooner." "Yes, perhaps Oma is an agent of evil. Who knows what she does at night?" Another villager snarled, fanning the flames. "Those suitors, death, And here, our king, is she offering them to some dark deity or what? Not everyone agreed with such accusations, but the fearful were louder. The chief priest of the village shrine was present, his face painted in white chalk markings, and he gravely confirmed that unnatural forces were at work. When pressed if Oma was guilty of harming her own family, the priest closed his eyes in divination. Then, cryptically said, "I see death around her, but her hands." He turned his palms upward, empty. These ambiguous statements did little to clear Oma. Some interpreted it as she caused it without directly doing it, perhaps through a curse or simply her presence. Throughout the meeting, the Igwe, a portly middle-aged man with a dignified red cap and an eagle feather stuck in it, remained quiet, listening to his subject vent. Finally, Igwe Okabwe raised his elephant tail fly whisk, a sign for silence. The murmuring crowd fell quiet in respect. The Igwe's voice echoed deep and authoritative. "My people, a great evil has befallen us. In one night, we lost 3 good people. Our hearts are heavy." He paused, looking truly pained. He had known Obinna well. "We have all heard the whispers that have trailed Oma, Obinna's daughter, whether she is truly cursed by the gods or targeted by some evil spirit. The result is the same. Death follows her in the shadows." A few villagers nodded and sobbed in agreement. The Igwe continued, "We cannot, in good conscience, allow this pattern to continue. We cannot lose any more of our sons or daughters." His eyes swept over the crowd. "Sometimes, to cure an ailment, one must remove the source of the infection. It is the decision of the council that Oma be banished from Umozala, at least for a time. If it is a curse on her, perhaps distance will break it and save us all. If it is an evil spirit following her, let it follow her far from here." A collective gasp went up. Oma, who had been brought to the meeting under guard, more for her own protection from any angry villager than to restrain her, cried out and fell to her knees. "Igwe Biko, my king, please," she begged, tears streaming down her face. "I have done nothing. I swear on my father's grave, I hurt no one. Do not send me away. On top of this pain, where will I go? I have no one now." Her voice broke into a sob. It was a pitiable sight. Oma, clad in a simple mourning cloth, kneeling and pleading, face swollen with tears and grief. Some in the crowd felt a tug at their heart, but fear is a powerful force. The Igwe himself avoided her eyes as he replied, "Our decision is final. The safety of the village is paramount. The earth goddess Allah knows we do not do this out of malice, but necessity." He motioned to 2 guards. "At sunset today, she will be escorted beyond the far river to the borders of our land. She must not return unless a sign from the gods permits it." Oma slumped to the ground, wailing. Banished. In a matter of hours, she had lost her entire family and now was to lose her home and community. She felt as if she were falling into a bottomless pit of despair. Some of the women wept along with her, but none dared openly object to the Igwe's decree. The mood was fearful. Many believed that this was the only way to stop the curse from claiming more lives. All through that day, Oma sat in her compound in a daze as a few sympathetic neighbors helped prepare her for the journey. By custom, even the banished were allowed basic provisions. A widow named Auntie Uzo, who had been friends with Oma's mother, tied a bundle of dried fish and gari, cassava flakes, for her. Another neighbor quietly pressed a small parcel of cowries, shell money, into Oma's hand. It was all she could spare. They spoke little, because what comfort could they offer? Oma was like a living ghost, her usually warm brown eyes dull and ringed with darkness from crying. The bodies of her family had been taken away for burial by the community. They would be given a quick burial at the outskirts since people feared any lingering cause. Only a few brave relatives attended, and Oma wasn't even allowed, which hurt her deeply. She hadn't even been able to properly mourn or bury her parents and brother. Afam had been strangely absent through all of this. In the chaos of the night and morning, no one recalled seeing him. One of the neighbors mentioned that someone had gone to call him when the tragedy was discovered, but his hut was empty. That was unusual. Afam was always around. Some assumed he was too grief-stricken and had wandered off, or that he was avoiding the gathering. A whisper or two wondered, had he finally given up on his friend? But soon, other dramas took attention and Afam's absence wasn't dwelled on. As the red sun began to dip in the late afternoon, casting long shadows of the raffia fences, the Igwe's guard returned to escort Oma out. Word had spread, and a small silent crowd gathered along the edge of the market path to watch. It was a somber procession. Oma walked in the center, veiled in a black shawl, with only her sorrowful face showing, her small bundle of belongings on her head. Two armed guards walked, flanking her, and behind, a village Kong man softly beat a gong to signal an outcast was being led away, a traditional formality. The villagers did not jeer or throw things. Fear had tempered them to quietness. Some made the sign of the cross or a protective symbol as she passed, as if warding off any evil. Others simply looked away, unwilling to meet her eyes. Oma herself was beyond tears at this point. A part of her felt relief. At least, she would not have to see the accusatory stares every day. But mostly, she felt an overwhelming emptiness and dread. Every familiar sight, the Odala tree, the playground where she had swung as a child, the stream where she fetched water, now tore at her heart because she might never see them again. Where will I even go? She thought. Perhaps she would wander to her mother's ancestral village or live in the forest as a hermit. It all seemed unreal. As they crossed the last compound on the edge of the village, near the path that led towards the river boundary, a figure suddenly emerged from behind a cluster of banana trees. It was Afam. He looked disturbed, as if he had been running or in a struggle. His shirt was wrinkled and there were scratches on his arms. "Stop!" he called out to the guards, breathless. The guards halted, surprised but keeping their spears crossed in front of Oma, as if to shield from any interference. Oma lifted her eyes at the familiar voice. "Afam," she exclaimed in a choked voice. Here he was, at last, the one person she yearned to see, yet had feared to face after their argument. A mix of relief and anxiety flooded her. "Afam, oh Afam," was all she could say, fresh tears springing free despite her exhaustion. Afam approached slowly, hands raised to show he meant no harm. He gave the guards a polite nod and then looked at Oma, eyes full of sorrow. I had everything," he said quietly. "I am sorry I wasn't there earlier. I could not believe it when I heard the news." His voice shook. He truly looked distraught, glancing at her bundle and the guards. "They are really sending you away?" Oma nodded, wiping her tears with the back of her hand. She had so much to say about her family's mother, about how scared she was, but her truth felt like it was made of stone. One guard cleared his throat and spoke. "Afam, you know the Igwe's orders. Do not make this harder. She must cross the river before nightfall. We have our duty." Afam held up a hand. "I understand. I won't stop you. Just allow me to accompany her a little bit, I beg. At least to say a proper goodbye away from the crowd." The guards exchanged looks. Technically, no rule forbade someone from walking pathway with the banished, as long as they didn't attempt to bring them back. And Afam was a respected youth, not a troublemaker. After a moment, one guard, an older man who knew Afam's late father, relented. "Only a short distance, son. Past that bent palm tree. There, you must turn back." Afama agreed with a quick nod. He gently took Oma's bundle from her head to carry it for her. "Let me help." Oma looked at him, grateful and heartbroken. Side by side, they continued the path over the low hills beyond Omozala. The sun was near setting, gilding the tall elephant grasses in gold. They reached the river crossing, which marked the unofficial boundary of Omozala's territory. A simple log bridge spanned the narrow river. Beyond it lay thick woods that eventually gave way to the next village's lands many miles away. The guards hung back a few paces, giving them a modicum of privacy, but still watching. On the riverbank, Afam set down her bundle and turned to her. Oma notices his eyes were red. Whether from crying or fatigue, she wasn't sure. "Oma, I'm so sorry about everything. Your parents, Ikena," he said, voice laden with genuine pain. He reached out as if to hold her hand, then hesitated, unsure if she would want that. But Oma threw her arms around him, sobbing into his shoulder. All the loneliness and terror of the last 24 hours poured out. Afam embraced her tightly, stroking her back. "It's okay. I'm here now. I'm here," he whispered. They stayed like that for a moment, two friends, clinging to each other at the edge of the world. Finally, Oma pulled back slightly, looking up at him with swollen eyes. "Afam, who could have done this? Who killed them? Why? I feel like I'm cursed by some evil spirit." Afam gently wiped a tear from her cheek with his thumb. "I don't know why," he said softly, "but I promise you, you are not cursed. And you are not alone. I will never abandon you, Oma." She shook her head sadly. "But you can't be with me now. Your heart, Igwe. They will banish you too if you keep me company. I cannot let you throw your life away because of me." Afam stepped closer, a strange intensity returning to his eyes. "I told you before, I would rather die than see you suffer. Don't you understand? There is no life for me without you. If they banish you, then I will go with you. We'll run away and start somewhere new, where no one knows this nonsense called story." Oma's brow furrowed in confusion at his words. Afam's tone was urgent, almost feverish. You can't just leave everything. Afam, what of your mother, your home?" He grasped her hands now, holding them firmly. The guards shuffled at a respectful distance, not catching the low conversation clearly over the bubble of the running water. "My mother will understand. Oma, I have thought about it all day. We will go far from here, maybe to the big towns or across the 7 rivers if we must. I will take care of you. No one will call you cursed ever again. And eventually, you will love me as I love you. I'll wait as long as it takes." His face searched hers with a mix of hope and a spark of something unsettling. Oma's heart lurched. This was all happening so fast, and her mental state was fragile. The idea of Afam coming with her, not being Otri alone in exile, was tempting, but something felt off. He spoke of it like a determined plan, and that spark in his eyes, was it just passion or a hint of desperation? She gently withdrew her hand from his. "Afam, you're talking about abandoning your life, and you speak as if I have no choice. I cherish you, but I still cannot simply become your wife out of gratitude or loneliness. Please." She glanced over her shoulder. The guards were politely looking away, giving them a final moment. She lowered her voice. "Please go back home. Take care of your mother. I will manage." Saying those words broke her internally, but she believed it was for his own good. Afam's jaw tightened. "No, I won't go back," he said, an edge creeping into his voice. The dying sunlight cast sharp shadows on his face. "I won't let them make you a wandering outcast, and I won't let you slip away from me." Before Oma could respond, Afam suddenly raised his voice, calling out towards the bushes. "You can come out now," he shouted. Oma jumped, eyes widening. "Come out?" She followed his gaze in bewilderment. To her astonishment, 2 of the Igwe's guards emerged from behind a large termite, not far from the bridge, bows in hand. These were not the same 2 who escorted her. Those stood behind. Now, Equally startled and raising their spear defensively, the guard captain from the village recognized his comrades, backed. Ikem, Chidi, what is this? Why are you here? Ikem, one of the hidden guards, lowered his bow but kept an arrow nocked. Igwe's orders. We are to keep an eye on things unseen. All of this happened in seconds. Oma looked from Afam to the hidden guards in utter confusion. Afam, however, looked furious that he revealed himself so soon. Stay back. He snarled at them. And to Oma's horror, he pulled a short knife from the back of his waistband, yanking her to his chest and brandishing the blade near her throat. The friendly, gentle Afam she knew was replaced by someone with wild, desperate eyes. Don't interfere, he shouted at all four guards now, who formed a semicircle around the pair, weapons drawn but unsure what to do. Oma was too shocked to even feel fear of the blade. Afam, Afam, what are you doing? She gasped. She could feel his heart hammering against her, his arm gripping her firmly. The sharp tip of the knife glinted at the edge of her vision. Afam pressed his face to her hair, speaking rapidly and loudly, not just to her, but to the witnesses present. They won't let you be my Oma. They want to take you away from me forever. I can't allow it. I did everything for you. Can't you see? I removed every single obstacle. His voice was breaking and tears mixed with sweat on his face. Those men who came for you, the hunter, the wrestler, all of them, I stopped them. I saved you from marrying someone else. A thunderous silence fell as his words sank in. Oma's blood ran cold. What? What did you say? She whispered, her mind rejecting the meaning of his confession. But Afam went on, almost babbling now. Yes, I killed them. Call it evil if you want, but I did it for love. None of them deserved you. They didn't know you like I do. They would have taken you away. And I couldn't bear it. Afam's arm around her tightened convulsively. The hunter, that night, I led him on a forced shortcut near the forest ravine. He fell into a pit meant for animals, broke his neck. Afam let out a chilling little laugh. The villagers thought a spirit did. No, it was me. Oma's hands flew to her mouth. This cannot be real. She felt dizzy, recalling the hunter's death that startled the curse rumors. Afam had been there that night to help. Sad for him. Could it be true? Afam continued, was stumbling out in mad confession. The wrestler Ekene. I slipped the poison herb into his palm wine during the feast at your house. I knew his ego would make him drink the whole god with his friends. He died before the antidote could be found. Oma choked back a scream. She remembered that feast. Afam had indeed been present, helping serve the drinks. As a friend of the family, she had never even noticed. The guards were cycling slowly, trying to find an opening to subdue Afam without harming Oma. Afam angled the knife closer to her throat, making them hot. One guard tried to reason. Afam, son of Okeke, put down the weapon. Don't make things worse. But Afam wasn't listening to anyone now except the voice in his own head. The Paiwan Tapa, that one was easy. He rambled on. I knew his route to the palms, and losing the climbing ropes, snap. Down, he came like a sack of fufu. And the farmer with his bull. Ah, that took some arranging, but a little firecracker behind the bull, and it went crazy. People believe any stupid thing causes spirit. It was all me, from beginning to end. His voice suddenly turned hard. Yet, they all blamed you, my poor Oma. They called you cursed. But it was me. I was right there laughing inside at their foolishness, why they ostracized you. He kissed the side of her head almost tenderly, sending shivers of revulsion through her. I did this for us, so that no one would dare come between us, my love. Oma found her voice and burst out. Afam, this is madness. You killed them. You murdered innocent men who never wronged you. She was trembling violently. The revelation was too much to bear. The friend she had trusted more than anyone, the one person she had felt safe with, was the monster behind all her suffering. Her stomach heaved, and she thought she might be sick. Afam flinched at the words madness. No, not madness. Obsession, maybe. Yes, I was obsessed because I love you so much, Oma. Is that a crime? Obsession is not love, they say. But who are there to judge? They didn't see how those men looked at you, how you smiled at them. I couldn't take it. The stone swung from pleading to anger in a heartbeat. The guard captain realized they needed to de-escalate carefully. He tried a soothing tone. Afam, think of your mother. She has lost your father. Do you want her to lose you too? Put the knife down and we can talk this out before anyone else gets hurt. But Afam only sneered. No one cared about my pain all these years. My mother will understand one day. Or not. It doesn't matter anymore. He took a step backward, maneuvering Oma closer to the log bridge and the raging rivers below. The sun was almost gone, dusk settling with a purplish gloom. Oma, my love, he said, suddenly heartbreakingly gentle again. We will be together forever. If not in this life, then in the next. Since they won't let us live in peace, then we will die and find peace on the other side. Oma's eyes went wide with realization. Afam intended a murder-suicide. He was going to kill her and himself rather than let her go. A surge of adrenaline shot through her. This could not happen. She could not let her life end like this. Not after everything, and certainly not at the hands of someone she once cared for. Gathering every ounce of courage, Oma spoke in a calm, clear voice, even as the knife grazed her skin. Afam, listen to me. He paused, possibly thrown by her sudden composure. Oma drew a shaky breath. This is not love, Afam. What you feel, it's not love. It's something else. Something twisted by pain. You think if you kill me and yourself, we'll be happy in the land of the dead? No. She slowly, softly placed one foot forward on the log bridge. If she could unbalance him, the ancestors would never receive one who spills innocent blood so selfishly. You would do much both to one that has evil spirit. She didn't truly know if that was theologically correct, but it sounded convincing, and Afam was still deeply traditional. He hesitated, knife pressure easing slightly. I only want us to be together, he said softly, uncertainty creeping in. Oma seized the moment. We still can. We can be together, she lied. If you truly love me, you will let me live. We can run away now, just like you said, and be together. I will marry you, Afam. We'll start again, somewhere far. The words tasted bitter, but she forced them out with a semblance of hope. Please, drop the knife. I forgive you for everything. Just don't do this. Don't throw our lives away. Her other foot inched onto the bridge, the wood slick under her soles. If he accepted her plea, maybe he would relax and the guards could tackle him. If he didn't, she might have to jump into the river, slim as her chance was. Afam's resolve wavered. She could feel it in the way his body trembled behind her. For a moment, the loving, concerned Afam surfaced in his eyes. You would still go with me? He murmured, hope and disbelief mingled. Oma mustered a tremendous smile. Yes, we will go together, find a new home. But alive, Afam, alive. Her heart pounded. She prayed to God and her ancestors that he would believe her. His grip on her loosened just a fraction. But before he could respond, fate intervened decisively. A sudden commotion behind them. One of the younger guards, perhaps impatient or misreading the situation, lunged forward with a spear, trying to take advantage of Afam's distraction. Afam noticed in the corner of his eye and jerked in surprise, pulling Oma back violently. No! He shouted. raising the knife again in panic at the approaching guard. In that split second, chaos erupted. The guard captain yelled, "Hold your attack!" But it was too late. Afam, thinking he was under assault, dragged Omar fully onto the middle of the Arrow Bridge, the river rushing below. Omar screamed as the knife pierced to her neck again. Two guards stepped onto the foot of the bridge, pleading, "Afam, wait!" Afam's eyes darted wildly. The situation was slipping from his control. With a despairing cry, he seemed to steel himself for a final act. "If I can't have her, then no one will," he cried out, echoing the selfish madness that had consumed him. He raised the knife, the blade catching the last glint of daylight as he prepared to strike, whether at Omar or himself or both, no one could be sure. Sweep! An arrow sang through the air. One of the hidden guards, Chidi, had loosened his bow. Afam gasped, the knife dropping from his grip into the dark waters below. He staggered, releasing Omar. She lurched forward and caught the rope handrail of the bridge to steady herself. Swirling around, the arrow was buried deep in Afam's left shoulder, inches from his heart. The archer had aimed to wound, not to kill outright. Afam swayed, shock and pain etched on his face. Another arrow was already trained on him as the other guard approached cautiously. Seeing he was disarmed and bleeding, they rushed in and grabbed him before he could recover the knife or do anything rash. Afam sank to his knees on the bridge, a guard on each side restraining him. "Ah! Ah!" he gasped, blood staining his shirt. Omar stood a few feet away, frozen, eyes wide in horror and pity and anger all at once. The guard captain gently moved her aside to safety. "It's all right, you're safe now," he assured her. She nodded, eyes locked on Afam. They carried Afam off the bridge onto the bank. He was gravely wounded. The arrow likely punctured a lung. The captain knew he might not have long. The once quiet evening was now alive with the distant sounds of villagers. Apparently, a few curious and concerned townsfolk had followed at a distance and witnessed some of the standoff. Among them was Igwe himself, who had secretly sent the extra guards to tell the party, suspecting something was amiss. Now, the Igwe and few of his cabinet emerged from the shadows of the trail, having rushed forward when the confrontation peaked. He arrived to see Afam collapse on the ground and Omar shaking like a leaf but alive. The Igwe's eyes blazed with shock and anger as one of the guards hastily explained what had occurred. Afam's confession and attack. Some villagers who overheard began wailing anew, not only at the dramatic scene, but at the realization of how they had misjudged Omar. The truth was out in the cruelest way. Omar was innocent. It was obsession, not a curse of spirit, that had caused all the deaths. Struggling to breathe, Afam beckoned weakly with one hand. I want to speak to Omar," he rasped. They had broken the arrow shaft, but the head was still in him. Blood bubbled at his lips. It was a ghastly sight, and some turned away. Omar, hearing his request, stepped forward slowly. She felt like she was moving through water, everything surreal. She knelt beside him, looking at the friend she thought she knew, now revealed as the cause of her nightmares. In his fading eyes, however, she saw not the crazed gleam of earlier, but the familiar warmth mixed with profound sorrow. He coughed, a terrible wet sound, and managed to whisper, "Omar, I am sorry." Tears rolled down his cheeks, mingling with blood stains. "I don't know what came over me. I was blind. I did monstrous things. You are right. Obsession is not love. I see it now, too late." A violent cough wrecked his body, and Omar instinctively reached to support his head, her own tears flowing freely. "Shh, don't speak," she said softly through her sobs. "I forgive you, Afam. I forgive you." Her heart was breaking for the boy she grew up with, even after what he had done. Afa managed a faint smile of relief at her words. He searched her face. Thank you, my love. With the last of his strength, Afama addressed the Igwe and elders who had gathered around in a semicircle. In a strained voice, he confessed publicly, I killed them, all the suitors, and her family. No cause, it was me. Oma did nothing. She's innocent. Please forgive her. Don't punish her. His mother, who had by now arrived sobbing at the scene, wailed loudly as he spoke, and some elders put their hands on their heads in shock at the treachery unveiled. The Igwe nodded gravely, face full of regret and anger at the tragedies that could have been avoided. Afam's breathing grew shallow. He turned his gaze back to Oma, eyes glazing. If there is another life, I will spend it making this up to you. But this one, I have ruined. I'm sorry. A final tear slipped from the corner of his eye. Oma held his hand as his grip slackened. Go in peace, Afam, she whispered, voice quivering. May God receive you with mercy. With that benediction, Afam gave one last shuddering breath. His body relaxed and his eyes fixed on a point beyond this world. Afam was dead. Oma closed her eyes in pain, gently placing his hand on his chest. The villagers behind murmured prayers and lament. Even those who had hated him an hour ago found pity in their hearts at the miserable end of a young man destroyed by his own obsession. The Igwe stepped forward and placed a hand on Oma's shoulder as she knelt there, tears dropping onto Afam's still chest. Oma, my daughter, he said kindly, stand up. She rose unsteadily, and the Igwe himself steadied her. Our gods and our people have wronged you, he spoke loudly, addressing all present. We chased an innocent person away and labeled her cursed, when in fact, she was a victim of a great wrongdoing. Obinna and his family had been avenged this day by the truth. Let everyone here bear witness. Oma, daughter of Obinna, is hereby forgiven of all blames and welcomed back into Umozala. She was never at fault. A collective sigh of relief and cheer, tentative but genuine, went through the crowd. Oma, emotionally drained, simply bowed her head, fresh tears of relief and sorrow mingling. Some women rushed to hug her, including Auntie Uzo and Afam's mother, who, despite her own grief over her son's actions and death, held Oma and wept, asking for forgiveness for any coldness she had ever shown. The villagers, who once avoided Oma, now came to console her, even offering apologies and comforting words. In the Igbo way, they admitted their wrongs. Ndo, sorry, we didn't know. May the deities forgive us. The dark cloud that had hung over Oma's name was finally dispelled. Obsession is not love. The lesson was plain for all to see. The elders shook their heads in astonishment and used it as a caution in subsequent days. Let Afam's story teach us that true love brings peace, not death. Love is not by force. You cannot force love or possess someone like a trophy without ruin. Indeed, the villagers agreed that love and obsession are as different as night and day. Where love is patient and kind, obsession is selfish and destructive. They would remember this for generations in their moonlight tales, warning young ones of the fate of Afam, who mistook possessiveness for affection. That evening, instead of Oma crossing the river alone into exile, it was Afam's shrouded body that was borne across, to be buried in the wilderness beyond the village, for a confessed murderer would not be laid among the ancestors in consecrated ground. It was a tragic postscript, but necessary for the cleansing of the land. Oma could not bring herself to witness that burial. She stayed in the Igwe's palace that night, at his insistence, under care of the queen and her maid servant, as the community began to atone for their mistakes. In the days that followed, the Igwe and elders organized a cleansing ceremony for Oma and the compound of her late family. The Dibia performed rites to dispel any lingering negative energies. White chalk and egg were scattered. Prayers to Allah for mercy were offered. The Igwe publicly slaughtered a goat in apology to Oma an act of restitution, and decreed that her family compound be rebuilt and gifts of yams and clothes be given to her from every family in the village. This was to show that the entire community sought forgiveness for banishing her unjustly. Oma accepted these gestures with humility, though her heart was still heavy with grief for her parents and brother. They were given proper burials now, with all honors, since the evil had been identified and justice served. In time, Oma emerged from mourning like a weak sun after a storm. The villagers of Umozala, once so ready to shun her, now embraced her as one of their own. They called her Oma the Strong, for she had endured so much darkness and still stood, graceful and good-hearted. The young women included her in their gatherings once more, and even those who had been jealous of her beauty now treated her with gentle care, as if trying to make up for past cruelty. The seasons turned, the yams were planted, rains came and went, and harvest arrived with celebration. During the next New Yam festival, the community insisted that Oma play a prominent role. She was chosen to carry the first yam to Igwe in ceremony, a symbol of renewal and gratitude. As she danced in the festivities, clad in beautiful new wrappers and coral beads gifted by the Igwe's wife, Oma felt a flutter of cautious joy in her heart. It had been over a year since that fateful night, and though she still visited her family's graves with sorrow, she had started to smile again, to live again. Among those who watched her dance was Chibuzo, the son of one of the Igwe's highest titled chiefs. Chibuzo had long admired Oma's resilience and quiet beauty. During her ostracism, he had been one of the few who doubted the court story, or societal pressure kept him silent. Now that she was vindicated, he felt emboldened to approach her. He was a gentleman, educated in the missionaries, yet deeply respectful of traditions, and he found opportunities to converse with her on market days, offering to help carry her goods or just sharing kola nuts and stories under the marketplace. At first, Oma was hesitant. The scars of past suitors were not easily forgotten, but Chibuzo was patient and sincere. Over many moons, he proved himself a true friend, and gradually, Oma's guard began to lower. She found herself laughing at his clever jokes and looking forward to his visit. He did not shower her with flattery or press her, but his steady presence was like a balm. It reminded her of happier times of friendship, yet different. There was a new spark, a new hope. When Chibuzo eventually declared his intentions formally to the Igwe and elders to marry Oma, the village erupted in support. The women celebrated. At last, a happy suitor's story for Oma. Still, a trace of fear lingered in a few older minds. What if? But those fears were put aside. Lightning would not strike twice, they said. The wedding was set on a glorious Eke market day. The whole village contributed to the feast. Pot of spicy jollof rice, pounded yam mountain high, goats and chickens roasted, and endless gourds of palm wine. The Igwe himself lent his royal band to play the Igede drums and Oja flute. Oma, dressed in gorgeous church wrapper with a coral bead, was radiant and a bit anxious as any bride. As tradition demanded, she carried a cup of palm wine to find her groom among the crowd. Her hands trembled slightly until she saw Chibuzo standing there, tall and smiling, wearing his Isiagu shirt and red cap, looking every bit the proud groom. She gave him the cup. He drank deeply, and cheers soared. It was official. The curse was broken, the past firmly behind. That night, under the full moon of their marriage night, Oma felt at peace for the first time in ages. Chibuzo treated her with such love and respect that her heart, once bruised and barricaded, blossomed open like a hibiscus at dawn. She whispered a prayer of thanks to her ancestors and to God, believing that perhaps her family's spirits were smiling to see her happy at last. In the months that followed, Oma settled into her new life as Chibuzo's wife, and they found joy together. She became known for her gentle wisdom, Young girls came to her for advice, and she would share her story, teaching them about patience and the difference between healthy love and harmful obsession. Love is like a seed, she told one wide eyed girl who asked about love. You water it with trust and kindness, it grows. But if you water it with jealousy and control, it withers or grows twisted. Remember, obsession is not love. Love gives freedom, it does not cage the beloved. Such were the lessons drawn from the tapestry of our life. Zala village also grew from this tale. They learned not to jump to supernatural conclusions for every misfortune and to pay attention to signs of human malice that they might have overlooked. The Igwe instituted a yearly lecture during the New Yam festival where elders recounted important moral tales, and Oma's story became one of them with her blessing, a story of caution and ultimately of forgiveness and renewal. Late one evening, as Oma sat outside her new home, a lovely compound Chibuzo built with flowering plants around the courtyard, she looked at the star-filled sky. In her lap slept her infant son. Yes, she and Chibuzo had been blessed with a baby boy, chubby and cheerful. She gently rocked him and hummed an old song her mother used to sing. A cool breeze brought the scent of night-blooming jasmine. Chibuzo was inside, bidding good night to his visiting friend. All was peaceful. Oma closed her eyes and thought about the journey her life had taken, from the depths of despair to the peaks of newfound joy. Her soul was at peace, yet she knew life is full of unexpected twists. She had learned never to take tranquility for granted. Who knows what the future might yet bring? In that moment, she felt a strange flutter, not of dread exactly, but as if somewhere the winds of destiny were stirring again, faint but present. She opened her eyes and gazed out at the moonlit of the hills of Omozara, holding her child a little closer. Whatever lay ahead, Oma knew she had the strength and support to face it. Her story was not over. In truth, it felt like a new chapter had only just begun. And as the gentle night enveloped the village, the sounds of distant drumming from an evening dance carrying on the air, Oma allowed herself a hopeful smile, her heart full of gratitude, lessons learned, and the quiet promise of tomorrow, knowing that if ever darkness fell again, the dawn will surely come, and that love, honest, patient love, would light her path forward. So ends this chapter of Oma's tale, rich with tragedy and triumph, and yet, as the elders say when telling tales by moonlight, if you wish to hear more, come again another day. Indeed, the story of Oma of Omozala lives on, and who can say what the next page hold? After all, life continues, and so do the possibilities for both sorrow and joy, for endings and new beginnings. True love is patient and selfless, not possessive or controlling. Obsession may wear the face of love, but it brings only pain and destruction. Let love grow from kindness and respect, not fear and force. In all things, the heart must be free to choose. Thank you so much for watching this amazing story about Oma on African Stories by V. If you liked it and felt inspired with her journey, please show your support by clicking the like button, sharing with your friends, and leaving a comment below. To see more interesting stories and learn about different cultures, subscribe to African Stories by V, and do not forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss a new story. Your support means a lot and helps us bring more stories to you. Until we meet again, stay connected, stay inspired, and keep smiling.